My name is Philip E. Beals, and my highest rank of service was Commissaryman, third class, submarine qualified. Well, as far as World War II shipmates, when people talk about heroes, those guys are true heroes. They volunteered, and what they volunteered for, they not only did with no complaints, but they survived it, come back to port, and in 2 weeks, they went back aboard again and did it all over again. And it's mind-boggling that they would do something like that, because while they were out there and being depth charged and like that, there was, religion was the only thing, and they were praying to God, and they swore that they were gonna, give their whole life to Him, because if they could just come home. But they would know, again, they not only come home, but they would go back out and do it again. And I says, I just can't fathom anybody wanting to do that, like that, other than they just felt that was their destiny, and that's what they had to do. And so they did that, and like I say, and as far as my shipmates that were aboard when I was aboard, I got a lot of stories to tell you, but I don't know the time frame of that. I tell them now, and I remember some, and some of the shipmates are right outside that door now, and they can not only verify it, but we go over it. Two of my favorites, but the one I think was it's just because I'm that kind of guy, I guess. Spooks. Spooks are CIA, government men, spies, whatever you want to call them. We call them spooks. I think they still call them spooks nowadays. The kind of men that come aboard in the middle of the night. First comes a whole bunch of suitcases and stuff, and get stashed up in the forward torpedo room, and then either sometime after midnight secretly come aboard, or after we leave port and go out to get into Long Island Sound, and all of a sudden a boat pulls up, and here 2 or 3 guys board our boat and go down the hatch, and off we go on some secret ops. And so anyway, they were aboard, came aboard at midnight. I was sitting, at that time, I didn't have to watch that day, and so I was just spare time sitting in the after battery, and one of these new shipmates come into the after battery and got a cup of coffee, and I said, look at him, I said, oh, where'd you come from? And he said, I'm not here. And whoa, I said, no, I'm sorry, my name's Phil Beals, how you doing, and he says, points a finger at me again, he says, look, I'm not here, I never was here, just forget about it. So, the next morning, I had the cooking watch. The cooking watch, the guys, and it just so happened that morning we had eggs to order. Order them any way you want them. I want them scrambled, sunny side up, whatever, you know, and we served it with bacon or ham or whatever, you know. It was just nice breakfast. Yeah, nothing like the SOS, you know, that they hear about, you know. I mean, perfect, you know, I liked it, you know, but I would cook it anyway, you know. And it was never on the menu. You know, we mostly eggs and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm serving, and each guy would stand in line at the galley, and I would say, okay, how you want your eggs? Oh, 2 over easy. Okay, 2 over easy. You know, play short order clerk, basically. And guess what? Here comes the guy that was never here. He never was here. And his turn in line. So I look up, I look at it, oh shit. I said, I'm gonna, you know, I'm not gonna, I tried to fight it, but I says, no, to hell with it. So I went to the next guy in line, which was a regular shipmate. Frank, how you want your eggs? And he says, oh, 2 over easy. So I said, okay, Frank. There you go, Frank. Okay, next one. Fred, how you want your name? In the meantime, not here guy is up here, still here in the front of the line. And he said, well, wait a minute. And I just ignored him and kept on going. And finally he stormed out of the after battery, went forward into the control room, went right to the chief of the boat, and, you know, to put the screws to me, I guess, or whatever, you know. And anyway, the chief comes back, and a great chief we had, chief of the boat, and I you know, again, one of the guys, a World War II guy, I loved him. I loved him like, not like a father, more like I guess, a older brother, you know, like that, you know. Nichols, it was Chief Nichols. He come in and he says, Beals, and he's like, I'm in the galley looking out. He comes in this way, I'm looking at him. Over his shoulder is Mr. Never Here. You know, so, and he says, Beals, he says, what's going on here? I said, no, Chief. Serving breakfast, you know, everybody's, you know, we're going along, you know, no problem. And he says, this guy tells me you refuse to serve him. And I said, what guy? And so he looks at me, and the chief, and he looks at me, this guy, God damn it. You know, and I says, Chief, I says, I don't see nobody there. And I says, do you see him? And the chief says, yes, I see him. I said, oh. I says, well, I thought I saw him, but he told me he was never here, or he wasn't here, and he never was here. And the chief looks at me, he goes, oh, okay, his eyes are rolling back. God damn it, you know, so I cooked his eggs, you know, but that was my getting back at the CIA, you know, the spooks. Got us some more, I can tell you a bundle of them, you know, but I had fun. I had fun, 4 years, or not 4 years, 3.5 years of fun aboard Bang. I'm glad I did it, and it's part of my life, and I hope I never forget it.